Today we're going to take a look at our open gym guide and see how coaches can get the absolute most out of their open gyms. I know a lot of coaches probably are thinking, I've been to plenty of open gyms. I've run several of them. I used to play in them, or maybe you still do play in them. What exactly am I going to get out of this? I think there's a way that we can utilize our open gyms to make sure that we get the most for our entire program, and that's what I hope to cover today. Before we dive in too much, though, I want to take a look at a couple of questions you really need to ask yourself when doing the open gyms. First is, what time of year is it? Are you in the summertime running an open gym, or is this kind of a preseason conditioning open gym for your players to get in, get some shots up, get used to run up and down the floor, that kind of thing? The reason we want to ask that question is each state association and each high school is probably going to have a different set of guidelines and rules for you to follow. So if you're in the summer, you may not have too many rules that are going to bind you when you're in the open gym. You can go in there, open it up, maybe do a little coaching. If you're in the preseason, school's in session, and you're just trying to get the guys in the gym to run up and down a bit, you're going to have more rules and guidelines that you have to follow. So make sure that you know what those are for your particular state. That way you're not getting yourself in any trouble. And then you can kind of pick and choose the things I'm going to talk about that will fit into that segment of your open gyms. So that's the first question. The second is, what do you hope to gain from your open gyms? Are you looking to see who's interested in playing? Are you trying to get your guys, your varsity players in there running up and down? Is this a program-wide thing? Are you going to be inviting middle school kids? Are you going to be inviting your freshmen, your JV, and your varsity? So what exactly are you trying to get from it? The reason I ask that is when I was coaching at the community college level, we had open gyms, and we wanted to get our players in the gym to get them prepared for the upcoming season. Well, one of the problems was we had to open that up to everybody in the school. So we'd run the open gym. Anybody who was taking a class there, had a student ID, was able to come in and participate. We'd get 50 or 60 guys in the open gym, and our guys a lot of times either didn't want to play because the competition wasn't high enough, or they just didn't want to wait to get into a game. So one way around that was to change the time of the open gym. Instead of running it in the middle of the afternoon, we changed it and started running it in the evening. Still left it open to anybody who was a student that could show their ID, could come in and play. But there aren't that many students on campus when you start doing it 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. So we eliminated a lot of students that were just looking for a pickup game that liked basketball, and we started focusing it more on just our players. So looking at kind of what you hope to accomplish can help you determine what time to run it, how long to run it, that type of thing. So those two questions are huge right away. The third question, and the final question here, is how much time do you want to put into the open gym as a coach? For me, where I'm at with my family, where I'm at in my coaching career, is I feel very comfortable having my assistant coach, my lower level coaches go in and open the gym. So we assign an open gym to each coach. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to show up. I go to almost all of them still. But I know on a particular night, my freshman coach may be running that open gym, or my JV coach may be running that open gym. So I don't have to be there all the time. We do something similar with our workouts where each coach takes a specific night with a specific block of time, and they run their workouts that night for whatever kids have signed up. That means I don't have to be running workouts all day, every day for all those kids to get them prepared for the season. I talk to my coaches, communicate with them about what we need to get done, how we want things run. So we're all on the same page, but they're fully capable of it. So that's something to think about as well. Don't kill yourself, especially if you're a young coach, you're first starting out with the program, you want to dive in and get going. I think that's great, but don't kill yourself trying to do everything. You'll just burn yourself out. And if you're married or if you have kids or anything like that, those people also pay a price when you're gone. And I think you can alleviate that, still find success by giving your other coaches, the credit that they're due. They've been hired for a reason. Use them for a reason. All right. So 3 things that you want to make sure that you pay attention to. What time of year is it? What are you hoping to get out of your open gyms? And are you utilizing your coaches properly during that time? Now let's look at the open gym guide. These are guidelines that I've set in place. There'll be some tweaks that I talk about as well. This is inside the membership site. So if you want to get this, it's under player development. I'll also see if I can put a link to it in the notes so that if you're a member, you can go and access it right away. If you're not a member, there's a 3-day trial. You can go in there, get this specifically, and look at the other resources as well. But we want to look at this open gym guide. How do we get the most out of our open gyms? First thing we're going to look at is 3-on-3. I love 3-on-3. I think that it's a great way for our players to get more touches on the ball, get more passing, shooting. You defend more scenarios in 3-on-3. Actions happen over and over and over again. All great stuff. So we start our open gyms with 3-on-3 work. Easier done in the summer because I don't have all the rules. In the fall, when we're doing the preseason stuff, our players still do it because it's kind of been ingrained in them, not because they've been, told that they have to. But if you do it in the summertime, then it's definitely something that will carry over. But tips and blocks that go out of bounds become the defense ball. This rule was put in place because we don't want turnovers in our games. We don't want poor shots and we don't want poor passes. So if a tip or a block, even if it goes off the defense, if it goes out of bounds, it's the defense's ball. We reward hard work on the defensive end. It's another way of emphasizing that part of the game because oftentimes in open gym, the defense is lacking, and the offense is what kids focus on. The ball must cross a 3-point line. Everybody does that. Pretty much standard for 3-on-3. Disputes are settled by a coach or a free throw. I like them to settle by shooting a free throw or a 3-pointer sometimes. But if there's a player who just doesn't seem to get it and they want to argue everything, every once in a while as a coach, we have to step in and take care of those things. 2 and out for teams who win 2 in a row. This is another one that I go back and forth with. Sometimes we do like a king of the court type thing. The 2 and out is if you win 2 games in a row, then you're off that court and you stay off for a game. Now, sometimes we'll have 2 or 3 courts going and there will kind of be a championship court. So if those champions win 2 in a row, then they're off and a new person can be on there. Other times we run king of the court where we might have 2 or 3 courts going, but if you win at that top court, you stay until somebody beats you. Kind of depends how many guys are in your open gyms, just what the flow of it is. I go back and forth on that one. I don't think there's a right way to do it, but if your guys aren't on the court, the 2 in a row is a good way to get people off the court. The bad part is if you keep it fair for everyone, when your players win 2 in a row, that means that they would be off as well. So play to 7 by 2s and 3s. I like this because it keeps things short, keeps them intense, and you can't make many mistakes when you're going by 2s and 3s. The games go pretty quickly. Seal the win by making a free throw. One of my players asked if we could do this because he had done it at a camp, and I really liked the idea. You score your 7th point. The person who made that last shot then steps to the free throw line and is going to shoot to seal the game. If they miss the free throw, that last bucket they scored doesn't count. So they go back down to, say, 5, and it becomes the defense's ball. They've got to now play defense, get the ball back on offense to have a chance to seal the game again. Puts pressure on the shooter. It makes guys look for who they want to have the game winner, very similar to what you do in a game. You want a good free throw shooter to be the one who's shooting that last shot. That typically is one of your better shooters in general. So it doesn't mean it has to be, but players start to figure that stuff out on their own. So I like that. And then we put a 10-minute time limit on that. The reason there's a time limit is for the next bullet, the last one down there, is we like to give an objective such as you have to do a pick and roll. It has to be a post touch. Only layups and 3-pointers. And we'll go over some more scenarios here in a second. But what each one of those does is it causes players to think the game and to have to react to different things offensively and defensively over and over and over again. So pick things that are part of your program, are staples in your offense and your defense, and put those in as a general rule. Only pick one concept for them to focus on offense and maybe one on defense. If you give them more than that, the play just becomes unrealistic and they start thinking too much and it's not really any fun to watch or to play in. But if they know that the post has to touch the ball every possession before a shot can be taken, then you're going to get a lot of touches for your bigs. If they know we're only shooting layups and 3-pointers, then you know that they're going to be driving and kicking a lot. Maybe that's part of what you do. So that 10 minutes is because some of these things take guys longer because they're not very good at them. And that's why we want to get them drilled in over and over again. Our 5-on-5 is a lot of it's the same, just a couple of different things here. We do want our guys to run 5-on-5. We typically do about half of the open gym 3-on-3. Our players love it. And then we flip it to half 5-on-5. So in the 5-on-5 stuff, that second bullet of players must cross half court on defense to score. We don't want any cherry pickers. We want them to get some conditioning in, get used to running the floor. So you got to cross half court, play a little defense to have the opportunity to score. The player dribbling down the floor must pass before they can shoot. This eliminates the ball hog mentality of one guy is going to dribble it, is going to go jack it up. Now in our program, we emphasize passing and moving the ball so much that we don't have this a ton. But there are guys who come down and they think that they're open, they're going to shoot it, and nobody else has touched the ball. And more times than not, it's just a bad percentage shot, and the possession ends up just being a turnover really because of a poor shot. So you got to make that first pass. We up the games to 11 by 2s and 3s, get a little more running in. The games last a little bit longer. That conditioning aspect is put into things, so we up it. I know some coaches run to 21, 25, stuff like that. I think that players start walking, they start not playing as hard, they just start being relaxed too much. In our system, we want guys to be able to play at a fast pace. So we're going to play games that are shorter and more intense because that's how we want the games to be. And then got the same rules of sealing the win by making a free throw and then a max of 10 minutes. Now at the bottom here, there are some offensive scenarios, things like pass and cut. If that's a staple of your offense, why not make that part of your 3-on-3? Don't pass and stand at the 3-point line or pass and go pick away. If your offense is pass and cut, then you want them to do that over and over again. Pass and cut and then back screen for somebody. That's an action that you can add to it. And you can see there's a list of things here. You can only score off an assist. You're going to pass and pick away. We're going to go high-low in the post in order to score. No dribbling. That's one that we like to do because it causes everybody to move a lot, have to communicate with each other. One player in the post always. This doesn't mean that the same guy's in the post, but somebody has to be in the paint every time you're on offense. It might be your guard who's in there. He may not leave until somebody else comes in. So you may set up a rule where you have to have one guy in there when someone else comes into the paint. Then that person can leave to go out to the perimeter. Makes them think the game in a new way. I like to have players who are high basketball IQ guys. These scenarios put the players in situations to have to think the game, and that makes them better players overall. Looking at the bottom of this document here, now there's some defensive scenarios, and these are things you can challenge your defense with. Sometimes there's a consequence, sometimes it's just an emphasis that you're making. But these concepts here are things that you want done in your defense every trip down. Closing the gaps, challenging shots, forcing a dribbler to the baseline or to the middle, trapping all your ball screens, hedging all ball screens, denying the post. Whatever it is that's a staple of your defense, give them one of these so that they have to do that over and over again. If they don't do it, it might be you get a point taken away, or maybe you kind of do like a hockey thing where you've got a 30-second penalty box before you can get back into the game. The players will kind of hold each other accountable for these things. In the summer, as coaches, you can kind of emphasize them more, referee it a little bit. In the preseason stuff, harder to do the defensive things because players don't always want to do them. And if they don't hold each other accountable, you may not be able to referee it. You just got to kind of live with it. But if you're doing it, you're emphasizing it as part of your practices the season before, as part of your off-season workouts in the summer and stuff, they tend to pick up on that stuff and they'll start emphasizing it themselves when they start playing in the preseason kind of fall open gyms. So those are some ways that you can make your open gyms better. All right. You can get the most out of them for every kid who walks in. It doesn't matter if you're a freshman, a 10th grader, or a varsity player. If the objective is to pass and cut, you can pass and cut, and you can start to learn that and be part of that offense. If the objective is you can't shoot it unless it's off an assist, then you know you're not going to shoot the ball unless somebody passes it to you. Doesn't matter what level you're at. Obviously, players at a higher level can do this better, but in a smaller school where you got different kids playing against each other, you can still do this stuff, and it's going to help you build for what you're going to do in the season. So, coaches, I hope that you pulled a few nuggets out of this, that you can use this open gym guide to better your program and your players. Also, inside the membership, there is a document that outlines all of this that you can go in and edit. You can download and you can edit. So it's not just a PDF, but you go in there, you put the rules, you put the format down that you want to have so that you can print it off, give it to your coaches so they all have it. They all can go into the gym. The players know what to expect. The coaches know what to expect. That way, if you're assigning times for your coaches, you don't have to be there. You don't have to wonder what's happening. They've got the outline and they can run with it. All right. Go over to CoachMattDennis.com. Check everything out in the membership site. If I can do anything, don't hesitate to contact me. And hopefully you got something out of this open gym guide. Thanks a lot.